Alright, so rather than install a bunch of packets and not show you anything cool, let's show you something cool to get you motivated. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make your first sensor. In this case, one of the most useful sensors is a PIR, passive infrared sensor. It allows you to sense motion in a room and then trigger an event. So we're going to need a few things for this. They're all inexpensive, and you can definitely just spam this sensor throughout your whole house because it's very useful. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to first have this. By the way, I got into graphite paint, so my hands are really like stained right now. So just letting you know that. So this right here is a microcontroller, and the microcontroller is roughly I think $7 for 3 of them. It's very cheap. It might be a little bit more, but not too much. So you can get these things. They're very inexpensive. This is a passive infrared controller. You can get about 6 of them for $10 or something like that on Amazon. So I'll share with you the links to both of these. These are female to female headers wire. And then lastly, this right here is a PlayStation controller wire. So it's for the PS4. Make sure you get one for the PS4. Reason, it's got data in, data out, and it's built for this. Okay, so it's got the data in, data out. So if you got a phone charger one, those are not data in, data out. Those are basically phone chargers, and it's a micro USB, and that's going to be hooked up to your odroid for this demonstration, or Raspberry Pi. Now you could go through the web and use this too to install it, but I would have Windows for that if you're going to try that. Mac is pretty horrible when it comes down to using the COM ports for this method. Alright, sweet. So those are the things. You're roughly looking at maybe $20 worth of things. Okay, this thing can handle way more sensors than just this one sensor. Okay, this can handle up to 8 to 10 sensors. The only difference is you only have one positive and negative out for 5 volt, one 5 volt out, and then about 3 grounds actually. So you run out of positive outputs. So you are going to have to learn how to solder if you want to go like 8 or 10 different sensors per thing. So I'll give you a demonstration. In my daughter's room, there is a light sensor, a motion sensor, a temp sensor, a humidity sensor, air quality sensor, and something else too. But it has one of these that run all those sensors. Okay, so this is just a real quick demonstration of how this works, so that it'll motivate you to explore those too. But certainly I'll help show you later on down the road how to hook up multi-sensors to one of them. Okay, let's just keep it simple for right now. Alright, so once you've acquired all these things, now let's look at this a little bit more detail. We're also going to have to look at ESPHome and how to add a sensor in there and how to add code to it and everything else. So let's begin. Okay, so we're going to go into ESPHome, and also if you go to the ESPHome website, so it's esphome.io, And what you're going to do is you're going to look for a PIR. So it might not pull it up, it might pull up something else. There it is. Passive infrared sensor. Okay, so for any sensor that you look at, in other words, there's a table of contents here, and you can see there's a lot of sensors you can hook up to this thing. Okay, 4 days. 4 days. Alright, so now, for every sensor, there's probably like an example. In this case, here's my code example. And on here, there is, for this little device, there is a ground, a 5 volt, and an out. Most sensors have that. There's usually a positive, a negative, and an out. So on this sensor, it's 1 or 0. 1 means motion. 0 means no motion. Okay, very simple. So that is what we call a digital input. Okay, anytime there's a variation of data, that's an analog input. And I chose digital because it's the easiest one to get your head wrapped around at first. Okay, so right now this sensor is just, if I wave my hand in front of it, it goes on. If I stay still, it goes off within a second. Right here is the re-trigger time, and what that means is, let's say I want to set it to, I wave my hand in front of it and it stays on for 5 minutes or stays on for 15 minutes. Okay, I could set it to as long as I want. 15 minutes. I think it maxes out at 20 minutes or something like that. The sensitivity, on the other hand, is do I have to breathe or can I just walk a little bit? So you gotta set that too. I'll show you how to kind of tune that in as we go along. And this one right here is for the type of delay that you want. So right now, with it hooked up to it right, and on this delay, that means on, then I got a time delay, then off. But if it's on the other one, it's just on off. It can keep doing that on off, on off, on off. So the re-trigger time, and I think the re-trigger time is actually taken out of the effect if this jumper is on the other side. And all these are different too, so whenever you get the ones on Amazon, they have maybe these switched around, or they have maybe like rotated in different directions, but I'll make sure that I put a link to the one that I have in my hand because I like that brand. Okay, so what I do is first copy this. Okay, jump into ESPHome and add new device. And the new device is going to be Dad's room motion. And I would use the underscore, not, oops. I know it allows you. No. Maybe it won't. Okay. So Dad's room motion. Okay, then next. Okay, skip this step. I'm using an ESP32 for this. Certainly there's a lot of variations of the ESP32. I would always order the ESP32, to be honest with you. The S2 is a pain in the freaking butt. It is. Because you have to hold down the reset button every time that you go to code it. And let's say this is off. I want to do a wireless install. It's a nightmare. It is. Just order the ESP32 every time. I'll give you the link to that too. Okay, I'm going to skip this too. Cool. Yay, Dad's room motion. So I'm going to edit it, and I copied that code. Okay, so it's very important that I paste that code here. And see how it has this space? This is YAML. It's a coding created by a complete nerd that doesn't like spacing, and it does like spacing, and it's very specific on spacing. It's not all that good, but you'll get used to it. Okay, I'm completely biased towards this stuff. I've been. If you miss one thing on this, it will basically hate it, the whole thing. Okay, one space, and it'll hate the whole thing. That's YAML. I know the YAML people, they're gonna chastise me for that, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to choose pin 23 on the microcontroller. I'll tell you why here in a little bit. And the PIR sensor, I'm going to call it Dad's Motion. Okay, and this I'm going to do off camera, but I'll give you an example. So this one won't matter. My router is called Virus. Okay? It has a password that I'm not going to share with you. So I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to go up here and hit install. Okay? And then I'm trying to think of how I could do this without sharing that password. So install. Then I'm going to choose this one right here. And right now it doesn't find it because it's not hooked up. But this is it hooked up to the odroid. So, boom. Okay, so now it is hooked up. I'm going to write the password in, and then I'm going to hit that button, and then I'm going to hit it again, and then it'll start writing, and then I'll meet you there. Alright, you made it. Yay! So, hopefully you found that part of the button. Hopefully you hit save too. I think it auto-saves though. This does take a little bit, so I'm going to probably edit this whole part out. Alright, so once it's done, it's going to go completely bananas because it's not hooked up. So just hit stop, then go to ESPHome, and it should say online. Okay, cool. So it's online, so now we have to hook it up. Okay, so for this sensor, again, because of the pinouts that I showed you earlier, we have a ground, which is the first pin, a positive, which is the last pin, and for the data, it's the middle one. And I always choose like a different color data thing for each sensor. So like if I have 8 sensors, they have 8 different colors. Okay, now this thing. Okay, now don't get intimidated because this is your first maybe ESP experience, but this is your power. Okay, it says VIN. This is your ground. And because there's only one power, 5 volt, that means, and I think there's one up here too, yeah, but there's one good power out. That means you would have to solder this to a board and then run this one out as many times as you could for, let's say, 8 times if you had 8 different sensors hooked to it. Okay, same with the ground. There's actually a ground here, a ground over here, and I believe there's one more ground. Nope. Just the 2 grounds. So, because there's only 2 grounds and there would be 8 sensors, you would have to solder that out 6 times. See? So, this is just a demonstration on how to hook up one sensor. Later, maybe I'll show you how to breadboard this up, or in this case, I use a thing called a green board. Alright, so if this one's power, the reason I chose pin 23, it's good for new students. really, to be honest with you. 23 is not taken up by anything else, and you don't have to worry about it interrupting any of the other pins. So some of these pins have pull up, pull down, resets, and a few other things. Also, some pins are really good at analog, some pins are really good at digital. Pin 23 is really universal, and I think 16, 18, and 20 are also pretty universal. I'll show you a chart here before the end and give you a resource that kind of walks you through which ones should be used and which ones shouldn't. But as time goes on, maybe we'll take a project that's a little bit bigger than one sensor, just for an example. So now I have everything hooked up. Remember, this is online right now, right? I hooked it up. Did it hurt anything by hooking that up when it's live? No, not really. If you don't have the dexterity, you can unplug it and plug it back in. It's not going to hurt anything. Alright, so I'm going to aim it like this so you can see my hand. It goes like this. See. Alright, sweet. So I'm going to take off my dot cam because I got to go back to software mode. Okay, so you can see it's online. How do we know it works? Well, you can go to logs and you can say plug into ESP dashboard, that, and it's on. Notice it's not working until I go cool. And there's going to be a delay there, by the way. So. Alright, so let's close that out. Now it's online. Okay, so what do we do with it? Well, we can first check to see if it's online. Because just because it's online doesn't mean it's been discovered. So if you go to notifications below, you can say check it out. And it's not called Dad Motion because that was my first attempt just off video, just to make sure. And I don't see it in here, to be honest with you. Nope, not in here. So if you don't see it in here, you just unplug the whole thing and you plug it back in. And if that doesn't work, you also have to restart the entire server, which is not a big deal. Okay, not seeing it, so this is how you restart. Go to settings, go to system, restart. Alright, so it's been a couple minutes and it did pop up. It takes a second, it does. So once it pops up under the integrations, then you could just go configure. Now it's going to ask you for a key. Alright, to get that key first, go to ESPHome, hit edit, and grab the encryption key. I'm going to do that, and then I'll meet you back to settings and integrations. Okay, so I'm going to go grab mine. Alright, I grabbed it. Now I'm going to go configure. I'm going to hit submit. It's going to say, hey, where's the encryption key? I copied it. Here's my paste. Easy. Okay, wants to know what area, and I'm going to put it in my room. And finish. Boom. So now we have our first sensor in a network. Actually, I got lots, but that's the first sensor we made together. Alright, so how do you use that sensor, right? First off, you can go to Overview and then Manage Dashboard, and I have to make a new dashboard. Okay, and create. Cool. And then I can open that up. It starts out like this. It's pretty ugly, and I want to just wipe out everything. So I'm going to go to Edit Dashboard, and I'm going to say Start with an empty dashboard. Take control. Good. Then I'm going to add a card, and I'm going to add an entity to it, and this is where I'm going to find that new entity, hopefully. Dad's motion. Boom. You can name it to whatever. Okay, so let's see if I can do it. Oh, yep, sensitive. So I'll have to tone that sensitivity down, but there it is. So that's not very helpful though, because it's a motion sensor. So again, I could time it out to 15 minutes, but let's say I'm in that room and I'm just sitting, right? I'm sitting. I'm not moving around. So a motion sensor is required for the initial trigger. 1/10 of a second, lights goes on. But then after that, you have a couple different options. You could say, you could set a timer. Say, okay, when I enter a room, I want 40 minutes in that room and without motion. Or there's another thing, is there's another sensor, and that's called a presence sensor. Okay, so we'll have to explore presence sensing. And presence sensing is pretty new. It's a radar type of sensor that allows you to you could be in a room, you could be under the blanket, you could be sleeping, whatever you want. You're in that room. And then the light would stay on. There's also sensors that can sense if you're sleeping. Creepy, right? There's sensors that you could put under your bed, so when you sit on your bed, all the lights go off. Every room has its own unique quality to whatever you're looking for, and it's all a logic problem. And that is what's so addicting to this. So right now we have a good start. We have a motion sensor you can create, and you'll be able to mark this off as like a certain sensitivity, but you're going to need about 3 or 4 different sensors in order to harmonize with everything. What we can do though is set an automation so that, let's say we tone down the sensitivity right now on this thing, or at least the delay, by rotating that one little thing that I do not have any kind of screwdriver for. So you gotta just rotate it a little bit, and then we'll make it so maybe it's got a 5-minute delay. Then we need a light bulb. So that's our next step. In the next video, we'll hook up an automation so that when we walk into the room, the light turns on. Cool. So this is the video so far. As far as in the next video, we'll handle that. Alright, so before I leave you, I would like to give you that resource for GPIO pens. So I'll leave a link to that if I remember all these links. So this video is definitely going to have the links. Now this right here is a good resource for it. This is randomnerdtutorials.com. Okay, he did really great documentation a while back, and so you can look at the GPIO pens right here, and What you want to do is stay away from GPIO pens 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 12 is bad. I would say 14 and 15 are definitely bad. And these are good for inputs only, but not outputs. But we're not doing any outputs, so it's okay. So 13 through 39 are good. 4 and 5, good. I would say this one would be bad. So 5 I would stay away from. I know 5 is bad. And 2 I would stay away from that. And then some of these will be better towards analog. And I don't think he goes into that. So these ones right here are all analog or digital. Boom, 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 boom. So let's say you had a sensor that had not a 1 or a 0 in it, but you had a range, which would be temperature. Temperature has a range, right? So temperature, you probably wouldn't want a 1 or a 0 in there, and you could use one of these analog inputs. Alright, so there's that. There's a link to that. And the Amazon one for the PIR sensor definitely has a breakdown of the PIR sensor if you want that. Have a good one. Alright, so today we take on the most cancerous, the worst of the worst, the one that no one likes to talk about, Tuya. I don't know how to say it, but basically it's this brand from China that's just awful. They make these though, so you can get them at like Home Depot, Lowe's, everything else. And this is $9. They got bulbs too. But if you want to use them in Home Assistant, you have to take on the great Tuya. And nobody's done it. There might be one on the internet, on YouTube, but I don't know. I didn't search that much. Probably because nobody's dumb enough to try to take these people on. Alright, so let's do it. We're going to add things to the Tuya network in Home Assistant. Okay, the first thing we're going to need is the fact that you're going to have to need the app. Okay? So, what you do is you find this app and download it. Oops. Tuya Smart. Okay, and it has, if I hit the plus button here, add device, you'll see a plethora of things that you can add to this. Huge amounts. Heaters, water heaters, water pumps, battery packs, all this stuff made in China. It's in here. Okay? So, including this plug. Even though you follow the directions and it wants the Fiat app, you can add it to the Tuya network and it'll bring it into Home Assistant. But if you follow the Fiat app, it will not do that. Okay? So we want it in Home Assistant. Alright, so to get started, you're going to download that app and you're going to break into that system. Okay? You're going to make an account. Remember the account, write it down in a Google document. You're going to need it for the final step. So that's the first step. It doesn't matter if you have any devices yet to add. You eventually will. Alright, so the next step, we're going to take on the great iot.tuya.com. Hate this place. Alright, so ready? So iot.tuya.com. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to cloud first. Okay, I've made a few of these because I had to experiment where I'm at, so I'm going to make one more because I still hate this place, and to make this video is complete cancer. So what we're going to do is we're going to create under cloud a new project, and I'm going to call it last none. Select my industry, education, development center. I'm going to go this one, and this is where you need to pick all these data centers. Okay, here's the reason why. When you signed up for your account, I don't know what data center you are, and you can have all of them anyway. So we're going to hit create, and then in this wizard, you need to delete all and only add IoT Core authorization token, smart home sync linkage, and data dashboard service, and hit authorize. Okay, then you go over to devices, link my Tuya app account, add a app account, and then what you're going to do is this. So you're going to go into your Tuya app, and you're going to hit home plus add device, and see this little thing in the corner? You're going to hit that. Okay, it's going to scan, so you got to go back to the website and scan the QR code before it disappears. Boom. Okay, it's going to say confirm login. Yay, okay, sweet. And there I am. Yay. So and it brought in my smart indoor plug. Okay, cool. So I have a device inside Tuya. Okay, it's just one of those cheap smart plugs that you could buy for $9. So if you ever have trouble bringing in objects, it's a lot of the data center that you signed up for. So for example, if you went into your Tuya account, so I'll show you this. Okay, so you're in here. Okay, here's your Tuya account, and then you go into me, then the cog, and then account and security. So right here it says region, right? Region is backwards. I don't know why it's backwards, but for me it's United States, Canada, but I'm on the east side of the United States, not the west side. Okay, so the west side is the east side and the east side is the west side. Alright, long story short, if you ever have problems doing that or bringing in anything on the Tuya network, it's because when you go to your overview, your thing, your devices, link to an account. So you got to make sure this data center is correct before you go to link the account. Okay? If it doesn't work, try another one. So try the Eastern. and who knows, just try them all. But that's why I had you bring them all in, is because you can actually try all of them until one pops. And it all depends whatever one you used on your account, but it's completely backwards to the Tuya.iot account. So that's why a lot of people struggle, I think, with this account, because we are not well documented in China. The other thing is, make sure your password and username, again, is known on your Tuya app. Okay, because you're going to need that in the next step. If you don't have that, it will not work. So that means if you don't know it, if you don't know the app thing for it, so go here, go to account and security, and make sure that you should see that now cloud development project is linked to Fathership. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is change login password, and just make sure you know it. Okay, make sure you know that for the next part. So now we're going to take on the integration of this into Home Assistant. Alright, we're almost done. So first off, you go to Settings, go to Integrations, Add Integrations, type in Tuya, alright, so here we go. We need the access ID, okay, which can be found under if you go to Cloud Authorization, you get this access ID. Okay, get that. Okay, next you need the secret ID, in case they really want some security risk here. Paste. Okay, now we need the account. And this is the Smart Life account. So hopefully that's just my email. Oh my gosh, we're in! Did you hear that? That's Alexa saying I have control. Where's this gonna be? Dad's room. Where is it? There it is. Look at that. Entity. One entity. There it is. Smart socket. Sweet. And I get a little on-off switch. all that for an on-off switch. Isn't it sweet? Okay. Nice. Then I can add this to a dashboard, and I can add it to my room. So, boom. No, add to dashboard. I like it. Boom. Sweet. Now I got a motion detector and a socket that I can turn on and off. We're gaming. We're gaming. Okay, so there we go. That is how to add things from the Tuya network. So anything that is smart things, that's Tuya network. Anything from Fiat Electric, that's the Tuya network. So the Tuya network, anything that's cheap as all China garbage, Tuya network. Enjoy the video.